I always think that HR is a very administrative support functions, but times has changed. Moving forward, we are the real business partner. We need to have a voice at the business table. We just ride the wave on AI. Currently, not only in my organization, widely as other organizations, it's the adoption of AI in terms of improving our work. It may sound easy to just say adopt technology, but in fact, there's a lot of work that goes behind to move towards this direction, which will take time. I hope that we see more speed in this area. Those high performing, they don't complain about the overtime because they find job satisfaction in the work. Or maybe there were enough recognition given by their managers. Up to today, it's still a challenge for me to balance between business needs and also the employee needs, or even to balance the heart and the head. There's no hard and fast rule for this. We learn through experience.
Let's start right away. Like, how do you present the work you do? I saw your title, but how do you talk about yourself? How do you introduce yourself? I see you're also a coach. So you introduce yourself usually from the current role you have at KONE, or do you talk about you as a coach?
The coach is not my main profession, so I usually share more about my experience in the human resource field. I'm always in the same line, but having opportunity to do wearing different hats. So that's something that it has been great when I'm looking back, right? A lot of things are accidental, but then maybe it might be planned by God, just thinking that, so it just flowed in a very positive way and also very unexpected way. I would say that.
Okay. Amazing. And is it fair to say that KONE is a high performance organization? I saw all the communication you did around the Merdeka Tower about this new innovation of being able to do very fast elevators that go to the top of Merdeka. From that moment, I saw KONE under that light of high performance. So how do you find high performance at KONE? And do you believe you guys are pushing the boundaries of performance? And is it just a random outlier, or is it in everything you guys do?
In everything that we do, definitely building high performance team, because this is a very people business. So it's really important that we really focus on developing a good talent pipeline and also high performing team. Are you based in Malaysia, by the way?
Yeah, we are in Oval Damansara.
Fantastic. So that's our iconic project with the Merdeka 118. It's no longer the tallest building right now, but definitely that's one of the biggest projects for the Malaysian team or even KONE as a whole. We do have other really big projects as well, like the Pavilion Damansara. So it's still ongoing right now. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Very nearby and also very important projects. KONE globally as a whole, we also managed to win the next tallest building, which is the Jeddah Tower. That's the next tallest building in the whole world. And then we are also very privileged and proud that we've also won that project as well. We have won 5 out of 10 in terms of opportunity to have our solutions and our high-tech solutions. And also we have our footprint in these skyscrapers, right?
Amazing. And can you tell us about your role? You are the People and Communications Director of KONE Southeast Asia. So your role is not just Malaysia, you're managing the region.
Yes, exactly. It's a very new name. Because we just started off this whole people communications about 2 years ago. So we are human resources, right? So of course we have rebranded ourselves to people and communications, as we have also packed in communications in our portfolio. Hence, that's the reason why there's an additional name of communication in our job titles.
External communications too, like marketing too, or only internal communications?
Internal communications. So the external communications is under the marketing team.
Okay. As I said, that's a big scope.
Yes, I actually cover 6 countries in Southeast Asia. So they are like Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines. These are the key major players in Southeast Asia. And the rest of the countries, we do have presence, but through distributor. So like example, like Brunei and so forth, like Cambodia. So we do have presence there as well, but we are not directly. Most of our offices are only based in the 6 countries.
Got it. And do you get involved with partners, like partner teams, when they work closely with KONE? Do you give advice to the partner teams, or you just focus on the internal teams?
For me, for my role, then of course, mainly we are support functions. Yeah, so we do a lot of internal stakeholders mainly. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And why or when did you choose HR? So I saw that you studied economics and commerce, and then you went into HR at Deloitte. You were the senior consultant human capital at Deloitte 2007 to 2011. And then from there, you had mostly HR roles. So why this commitment to HR?
I joined HR as an accidental. As I shared with you, it was like a lot of times that I think back, a lot of things has been accidental, but that's been a good way. So I've actually, what happened is in the LinkedIn, I didn't put everything. I would just put more on my recent experience. But before I joined KONE, I was with an outsourcing company. I joined as a graduate trainee, and then I was being put into projects. So projects in terms of implementing the payroll, because the company will outsource their payroll. So I was working at a company where we actually have this time we manage their payroll. So they outsourced to the company, and then I was actually in the project team to transfer all the payroll. And we will run the operationally monthly payroll. So that was how I started my journey. And also I wanted to do something different to try maybe talent acquisition, right? What happened was back then when I was applying for a role with Deloitte, I've actually went for an interview, went for an assessment. And then in the assessment, they told me that, oh, Ching Li, I think from your profile, you look like you fit to become a consultant more. So you're more suitable to be a consultant. I'm not prepared for that. I didn't know much about the work because I didn't even think of going to that path. And thereafter, when the opportunity comes and I went for the interview, went for the other rounds, and I've ended up my role in the consulting role. And I did recall that I have a friend who was like really interested in joining consulting, and she applied for the role, and then she said that she didn't even receive any interview. And for my case, I didn't even apply for the role, but I've been sort of like given the opportunity to speak to the consulting manager immediately in the same meeting, and then I had opportunity. So really thankful and grateful for what has happened. So that's the reason why I'm saying that a lot of things that happen in my life is quite accidental, but in a good way.
Love it. And so you went from payroll to being all-in-one HR, basically, on the entire HR spectrum?
In the consulting world means that I provide consulting services to the companies, right? So I wasn't an in-house HR. I only became an in-house HR when I was in HSBC. So from there, I went into no longer providing consulting services, but joining the corporate within the HR function in the organization. Yeah.
And at Deloitte, what kind of project did you work on? Was it also payroll topics or workforce administration topics, or was it any kind of topic?
Deloitte gave me a lot of opportunities. So for example, that when the organization would like to start up like a branch in Malaysia, so they would really need support from the consultants, whether in terms of setting up, in terms of building the team, for example, and then coming up with some of the policy guidelines, the employment handbook and stuff like that. So I was part of the team to help with the startup. That was one of the opportunity. There was also other opportunity in terms of projects where I was also sent to Kuching because there was a need to grow the business, and they are looking for more structured processes within the organization. So for example, that they didn't have a salary scale structure. So I was there. They want to build a high performing team. They would like to have developed their core competencies and how are they going to measure performance. So I was there with the team as well to look into this, to set up. But in terms of HR perspective, also there were many opportunities. I was also involved in, example, like there's a mergers and acquisition of two big construction companies. And then I was also involved in the harmonization of the salary and benefits. So many engagements that usually we don't say no. We will try to win as many engagements or projects as possible, and then we work on it. We truly work on the project, and then after that we will look into ensure that we have collection as well. So we had to look at the full chain in terms of the business development and delivering the project as well as collection as well.
At Deloitte, you saw quite a few companies. Then you had HSBC, Prudential, Assurance, Carlsberg, and now KONE. Quite a few different industries and different roles. Do you have a playbook of how you do things? Have you boiled down all your best practices into one framework? Or is every organization you go to like a white canvas? Because you need to do the discovery, and every solution is to be completely adapted to the organization. So you can't really reuse that much. So where are you on that spectrum?
I'm like the white canvas. When I join, I'm like the white piece of paper. So I'm just eager to learn and explore. Whenever there's opportunity, I feel that it shouldn't be missed. Every opportunity that is in front of me, I would really think right through whether should I take the next move. So never say no to any opportunities. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And maybe also very interesting to see your trajectory, right? Because you moved through the ranks. Now you were the HR director at KONE. You became the Southeast Asia lead. What's your advice to people who are just starting in HR? They are maybe 1 year, 2 years outside of college, starting to practice. They are more junior and they want to know how to get through the ladders, maybe quicker even than what you did. What's the
Yes,
recommendation?
yeah. Thanks for asking that question. In fact, yesterday I did have a catch up as well with one of my another HR friend from another organization. So they're also asking the similar advice, like what are the advice for him in terms of moving up the ranks and also to grow in their career. And definitely for me, it's very simple. It's always explore opportunities. So getting yourself uncomfortable is a good thing because there's a time where you learn. You do things that you haven't done before. You don't know until you try it. You do it and you know whether you like it or not. And who knows that it might be something that you like or it might be an additional skill set under your belt that will help you to prepare in the future. Yeah, never not to turn down any extra work that your bosses give to you. Let's say, and some of them, I think I learned the hard way. There are times when I was young, in my younger days, and I'm thinking back, when my boss gave me extra work to do, I was thinking, I don't think it's my scope of work. It should be done by the other person. Why am I given this? I'm really too much on maximum, right? I'm really rich, and why my boss still pouring more work on me? And it's not in my area of expertise or it's not in my functional area, for example, right? And then when I think back, when I did it, I've been exposed to other fields and I hone my other skill sets. That's the reason why that you might be very painful to go through it because it's uncomfortable and you have a lot of work. You're being pushed to the end to deep sea. But then when you think back, it's such a great learning experience for you to prepare your career. I just give you just a very concrete example, right? Back then when I was in Prudential, I was very niche. I was in the team, they call it the compensation benefits team, right? So it means the team that helps to look at the merit increment, we look at performance appraisals, we will make sure that we have enough salary increment budget, we will decide some framework, how to remunerate the employees, and then we come up with the salary metrics. So you know that, okay, you're a high performer, you get higher increment, for example, because I have the metrics, right? And then after that, I was given a task like, okay, Ching Li, I think you can run training. We need to look at upskilling our managers. So in terms of leadership skills, so I'll be part of the trainer, even though I don't have a training background. So I was being tasked to run training. So it was really uncomfortable because it's like my role was like behind the scene, crunching the numbers and everything. And I have to go in front and speak in front of others and to engage with the crowd. So having said that, there was like, I was like given, train the trainer for 2 weeks. And after that, the third week, I had to just run training together with another experienced trainer. So I didn't do it alone, but I learned from the experienced trainer. So it was great. Did that for the whole month on top of my current workload, for example. And then that is something that truly, I didn't even think that I would love it at the end of the day. But after running the training for 3-4 weeks, I was like, oh, not too bad. Actually, it's quite fun to become a trainer. There were many opportunities that my boss gave to me. And then, in fact, there was one time I was like saying, oh, Ching Li, one of our colleagues, we are unable to fly to UK because we are doing like recruitment we're trying to recruit and bring back Malaysians who are studying in UK. We want to offer them management trainee positions. So it's like, next week, are you free, Ching Li, next week? One of our colleagues is down. She can't make it. Yeah, book your flight and help us with the campus recruitment and help us to also identify talent and also to interview potential management trainees to be hired for Prudential Malaysia. And that was an exposure I had for recruitment. It was amazing. A lot of work, but I think back it was like, yeah, because I didn't say no. I just like, yes to whatever is given to me. And then I just do it. And that's how we learn, right? You might be uncomfortable, but we do it.
Lovely. So very hardworking and never saying no.
Never say no.
Never
Yes.
say no. Love it. Why the people and communications? What does the communications piece of the work mean?
There's a lot to be done because I think in a lot of organizations, it's always fine line between HR and communication because a lot of times the communication may park under marketing, right? Marketing and communications. In fact, there's a lot of correlation and a lot of synergies between communication and in terms of HR because we do a lot of like company announcements. There's a lot of like employer branding that we do. So that's a lot that we will need to develop and further strengthen in terms of this in this space. That's the reason why we organized ourselves in such a way that we combine HR and communications together.
And so you have a separate team for communication and a separate team for people?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes.
What are the roles? I've never talked to someone who had a communications team dedicated. What are the profiles? Are they marketing people? Are they HR people?
They are communications people. They are like born and bred communications, So
Okay.
they have a lot of work to do. They have when there's crisis management, they have to run crisis training. Hopefully that we know how to equip ourselves with the necessary knowledge to maneuver and navigate crisis. So there's a lot of things. And then there's also PR as well, a lot of public relations that we like to engage to even increase the branding of our company. Yeah. So a lot of work there in that space to be done.
So employer branding is under the communications team.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so let's look at a few things. Like, for instance, are meetings like the way you meet as a company? Is the way the one-to-one are happening between the managers? Is it also part of the communications team or it's different team?
The meeting, like one-to-one, means internal meeting?
Yeah, basically, how do you frame those meetings, like the structure of those meetings, making sure they happen? Is it part of the communications role or it's part of the people role?
I think we have to say that we would work under the people under HR, because I would
Okay.
say that the communications team dotted line to, like myself, for example. So I will have the overall responsibility and ownership for that.
Okay, got it. And for communications, when you have a deep change to transmit, so let's say that you have a new initiatives for the year and the team needs to change for that initiative, how does it work? Is the people team working with the communications team and the communications team is just doing the copywriting? Or is the communications team also change managers, people who are thinking how the communication will impact mindset, process, and all these different aspects? So how do you weave the two teams in order to impact change?
Yeah, I think it's very good questions. I think a lot of time there's a lot of gray areas and it always interlinks. So I would say that whenever there's any changes, that we need to definitely have like a key person, like a project manager, the one who's in charge of these whole changes, the one to spearhead the changes and the communication. So I would say that the both teams will need to work very closely, and also to definitely identify any potential change agents as well. And for them to also to ensure that we are able to minimize any, I would say, bottlenecks, and also to ease the transition process. I don't have a real fast and hard rules to this, but we definitely need to collaborate when it comes to change management.
Talking about change, but more like societal change, like trying to impact the entire ecosystem of Malaysia, but also Asia. You're one of the 100 most influential HR leaders. So what are you trying to influence at the moment? What are the big ideas you'd like to spread further in the region and in your role?
I would say specifically, let's say within my organization, right? Of course, will be something that I can relate to easily, right? I've actually taken up this role like 2 years back, because I was actually, when I joined, I was a HR director for KONE Malaysia. And after that, within less than 2 years, I have been appointed to be the Southeast Asia director. With that, there were many learnings and opportunities back then, and I recall. So I had to be involved in setting up the whole structure of the whole team, the whole business. So there were a lot of things has happened, like a lot of changes in the organization and the way we work. At the same time, there were a lot of similar challenges. There were challenges in different countries, but there are similarities and also a lot of synergies that can happen. And a lot of, I would say, best practice sharing as well. I see that there's a lot of benefits that the team has actually benefited from this whole new structure that we've built out, the Southeast Asia structure. So I'm just giving you a very good example, a more concrete one. For example, let's say like maybe about 2-3 months ago, we had an earthquake in Thailand, and then it happened suddenly in Bangkok, and all the building owners, they were really anxious, and then they had requested for a full check for all their escalator and elevator. And of course, our team in Bangkok may not have the full resources to deploy for all the building at the same time, right? So what we had done was we had mobilized teams from the other countries. Like example, we had some team members from Malaysia, from Vietnam, to fly into Thailand to support this crisis, to support the Thai team, right? So there's a lot of good that comes from here, because if we didn't have this structure in place, they'll probably be like calling one by one, like, oh, can I call my neighboring counterpart and ask for support? It'll be quite slow, can be done, but might be slow. But for us, at the Southeast Asia level, we know that it has to be done. No question asked. We are just going to deploy the team, and you're going to get your help like as soon as possible. As long as you just get your work permit done, everything, we just fly you there, right? Definitely will be stronger as a Southeast Asia frontline, definitely, instead of being an individual country, because there's a lot of, as I said, a lot of synergies, a lot of opportunities that we can strengthen our market position, whether to do with we have similar customers or customers database, or whether we have also similar changes in terms of development of our people. We can roll one program in one country, and then I can roll the same program in another country. So I do not need to rebuild from zero. I can just design one program and I can deploy, and the rest and all the countries can also benefit for it.
To understand the change, so before you went into this role, that the Southeast Asia role, there was no connection between those different local. No, it was going back to the top of KONE, right?
It was all reporting to Asia Pacific. So it was like all individual country report to Asia Pacific. And Asia Pacific has really large portfolio. They have around 30 countries,
Got
20
it.
to 30 countries. They can't go into depth too much. So that's the reason why we need to like cluster. So we
Got
have
it.
cluster Southeast Asia because they're like they have like nearby countries, and then there's a lot of challenges are similar, and also there's a lot of opportunities that we can work as a cluster.
Got it. And the clusters are still reporting to the Asia Pacific, or you're reporting to the
Yes,
headquarter?
correct. Asia
Asia
Pacific.
Pacific. Got it. Cool. Very interesting. So any other changes apart from this change from being like adding maybe one layer to be coordinating resources better and reuse in the same region? Any other big change you're trying to implement at KONE at the moment?
Definitely, there's a lot of work in the pipeline. Another example that I will be able to share is, because we do want to be the market leader, for example, right? We always, in the past, we've been always playing at the market where it's the European brands. We are like at the high-rise building segment, for example. So moving forward, the bigger opportunity is at the residential segment. So we are trying to also penetrate like the affordable range where a lot of the Japanese players are there. And we'll probably need to have a different kind of solutions to penetrate that segment because we are always in the high-end segment. So we need to come up with solutions for the middle range segment or even the low to mid-rise. And from there, we will be able to penetrate the market. That's one opportunity. Also, there's other opportunities. A lot of the buildings in Malaysia or even in Southeast Asia, for example, globally, they have reached to really old buildings, like 15 to 20 years. It's time for modernization. So there's also a lot of modernization of the lift equipment as well. So there's a lot to be done to maintain the whole building, the lift. So we are part of the whole building life cycle in terms of bidding and tendering new projects to install the lift, and then we service the lift, and then after that we modernize the lift. So we're always there throughout the life cycle of the building.
Cool. I didn't realize how important lifts were until you spoke about your experience in Bangkok and the issue of the earthquake. It's so important and it's so critical to everyone's day, but we forget about it when it works, right?
Yeah, when it works, it's like, no worries. When it doesn't work, it's like, oh my God, how am I going to get up to my room at level 20, or that kind of thing? Or how am I going to come down?
Totally. What are the values of KONE talking about this? Because I imagine security as a big place, but I'm not sure that it goes into your top values. What are the key principles or key values of KONE in Southeast Asia if they are different than the global ones?
It will still stay the same. We are all aligned to global. So example that we have our core values will still stay. Example that we want to be the caring employer. We would like to also strengthen our collaboration within the organization or even with our partners and customers. And so we have like our care. We want to have also be very courageous to penetrate new market. And the customer satisfaction play a big part. So we would like to become the number one spot in the customer's heart, right? So that is 4C that we have our core value, right? Care, collaborate, customer, courage. So this will still stay the same throughout the whole organization.
Got it. Thank you for sharing. If you summarize your life to one question, what would it be?
Oh, okay. Who am I?
Interesting.
Because I'm still figuring out, right? So who am I? I'm still making building my pathway. I'm just interested to see how it ends at the end of the journey. So I'm still in my journey.
Love it. Love it. You have 20 years in HR and it's a refreshing answer. I feel many people are always certain or think they know, but no one knows. I don't know either. I think when you go deep, you realize you don't know, like many other things.
Yeah. I realized that maybe I've been spending a lot of time in HR. So like from this year onwards, I was trying to look at other aspects of life or other aspects of field besides HR. So I've also recently, like mid-year, I've also registered as a Rotarian. So it's something that I've also able to meet different people from different walks of life. And I realized they're very different from myself, right? Because we are from different industry, they're entrepreneurs, there are many people. I'm always open to meet new people, learn new things. Never know, right? We'll see how far that HR brings me, or maybe there's other aspect of areas that I might go into, right? Never know.
You spoke earlier about the training that was a new thing for you back in the day. And I saw you were also a coach, correct? I think you are.
Yes, exactly.
So are you weaving coaching within your HR practice or is it a side practice?
Definitely, coaching plays the main part in my day-to-day or my work. Coaching and also mentoring, right? That was something that I believe that I would always looking to upskill myself. I did the coaching certification back about 1 to 2 years ago. In terms of, whether there's opportunity that I can be a full-time coach, that's also a possibility moving forward. Other than that, it did help me in terms of my role because I deal with a lot of people. a lot of people matters. So a lot of times where I have to have a lot of very difficult discussion with people or the business leaders, definitely coaching does skills that does help me with my work for now. But for future, yes, never know where it's going to bring me.
Along those years, you probably changed your mind about a few things. If you had to choose one belief that you held early in your career about HR that you've since then changed your mind about, what would it be?
I would say that in the first phase, when I started my career, I always think that HR is just like a very administrative, support functions. But I think times has changed. Moving forward, we are like the real business partner. We need to have a voice at the business table. And it's very important that the key person, let's say the CEO or the managing director, takes you like their key left and right man, right or left women, we can call it, to drive the business forward. We do play a key role in a lot of ways in terms of helping the business to grow. So my perspective has changed that I would probably need to have more business savvy now in my role right now compared to just being administrative function, right?
You were talking about it earlier, about the importance of conquering new markets, and you knew which markets they were. So what's the importance of knowing the business for HR? So not just talking about people matters, but advancing the agenda of the business. So being really aligned with strategy and pushing that strategy, not just the support function you were talking about. Can you tell us about how to do it when you haven't started? So you are very focused on people matters, let's say, and you want to expand and start understanding. Where would you start, or where have you started yourself?
It's very important to network any roles, whether you are in HR or in other functions, whether you're in IT or any other roles. The reason why the networking is very important, I would say that building the relationships and from there, learning what others are doing and how they impact the business or what do they do. I would say that being curious to learn outside your field or outside your function is important to build or to strengthen your business acumen. That is the best way to build up your business acumen, I would say. Besides, of course, reading all the news and going through all your MBA courses, there's one. But of course, there are other ways of learning. I think a lot of times when we learn on the ground, right, when we are involved in any business projects, I think if there's opportunity to be part of those big impact projects would be fantastic so that So I just give you another example. When I was back in Prudential, I was being selected for this talent program, right? So the pool of talents, they were all given assessments so we know what's our strengths and area of development. And then we were also given projects as well. We went through leadership training. We were being assigned projects, so we have to work across different functions in the organization. And then it's a real business project, and then we had to present and show and so forth. With that opportunity, the really hands-on opportunity, I was able to build connections and understand the other functions as well. And I was able to understand the business challenges and how we are able to solve it. And also having the opportunity to have the visibility to the leadership team, which is also important for part of the career development of the organization, so that whatever work that you do is also visible by the leadership team and they know your capability. And when there's an opportunity, then you'll probably be easier for you to reach to your goal or the role that you want in the organization, right?
Cool. I spoke about it earlier. You had an answer that was more internal to KONE, more on the broad HR community, more on the way the world is currently working, how we go to work and get objectives and then perform, and then the next day we do the same. But there's a culture of work that we bathe in that is quite mainstream. And then you have some different policies or different instances, iterations of that culture in every organization. And they are all different, but more or less we are all living the same kind of corporate culture, let's call it, or work culture. Do you have topics or aspects that you would like to see change in HR, and things that you could be doing at KONE or things that you are envisioning for the future? It doesn't have to be right now, but what is it that you would like to push? Some people, just to give you some examples, right? Some people are talking a lot about DEI, others are talking about peak performance, how to get flow in organizations. Is there anything that you're very fond about or you long for and you're trying to get the community to adopt or not?
We just ride the wave on the AI, the artificial intelligence technology. I would say that there are many opportunities, just that how fast we are adopting this and how much money or time that we are able to convince the business to invest in this technology to help with the work, with the way that we work. Currently, not only in my organization, I would say as widely as the other organizations, it's the adoption of AI in terms of improving our work. So I would definitely like to see that more adoption of technology in our work. But at the same time, I also understand that every time when we want to do any of this investment or digitalization, there's a lot of business case and a lot of change we'll go through. It's not easy. So example, like if you ask for X amount of money and this is the output potentially in terms of increase of productivity, reducing of costs, and then cost also you have to restructure your team. You might reduce your team headcount, and then you're looking at a lot of tangible outcomes from this. So I would say that it may sound easy to just say adopt technology, but actually in fact, there's a lot of work that goes behind to do this, right? To move towards this direction, which will take time. Just that, yeah, I hope that we see more speed in this area.
Another question on your role. The HR is always to find a win-win deal between the organization and each of the people working for the organization. How do you balance being a people advocate with being a business partner?
Up to today, it's still a challenge for me to still balance between business needs and also the employee needs, or even balance the heart and the head. So, means there's a lot of decisions that the business wants, right? Example, they want to see really like there's some like improvement in profitability, or there's improvement or cost optimization, for example. At the same time, you need the right people to do the job and to make sure that we are growing at the rate that we want to. At the same time, there's also hard decisions to make, whether how do we want to manage this individual or employees, right? Or how do we motivate them? How do we engage them? How do we drive them? How do we reward them? At the same time, those who can't make it, how do we manage them? Or how do we try to look at improving their performance to build a high-performing team? In my role or in all other HR practitioner role, we are always in this world that we are always trying to balance. It's a real challenge, trying to balance between the business needs and also trying to also be fair and also to be compassionate and empathize with the employee. There's no hard and fast rule for this. We learn through experience. And a lot of times where the decision to always look at the heart and the head decision. If you ask me, I have no straight answer for you. It's still a learning journey for me.
Thank you for your honesty. One question that is really interesting to me, and I think for junior HR and for organizations in which HR doesn't have a very strong place, how the power is distributed and how much of that power is given to the HR leader. Do you find that HR teams have enough power in organizations in the region now that you are covering multiple markets, Malaysia, but also all the other markets you cover? And when I'm talking about this power play, it's just to talk about HR versus marketing versus sales, operations, finance, all those different functions, right? When you are among the same leadership table and budget needs to be allocated or initiatives needs to be prioritized, do you feel that HR has enough power at this table?
Yes. For me, I'm not sure about the other organizations out there. In my current organization, yes, we have, because all the HR business partner or even myself, we sit in the leadership team. So we definitely have able to influence. Our voice is being heard, and that's most important to gain the confidence, because some of the decisions or some of the views that they would like to hear may not be always about related to HR. Sometimes they also ask views about non-HR matters as well. So you have to be seen as you are a real business partner, not only in HR aspect, but also in the business commercial aspect. Sometimes it happens as well. So far has been so good in my organization, but of course, I'm not sure about the maturity of the other organization out there.
Talking about organizations out there, what is the main problem that you see in Asia, if you can limit it to Asia, with regards to HR?
The problem, I would say maybe, and if it's a traditional organization, I would say that some organizations or some individual feels that they are still very operational, very administrative. That's something that it has to change, right? So the change in mindset is not only come from the individual, but also as the whole company as well. That's probably the main key challenge I see.
With regards to teams, so we talked at the beginning of our conversation about KONE being high-performance organizations, and we just gave an example with Merdeka, but as you said, like Jeddah Tower, and there will be other projects, I'm sure. So when you look for that high performance, the teams need to be embodying this high performance in order to win those deals, then implement them. How do you see the differences between high-performing teams and good teams? They're not like excellent, but they are good enough. So what differentiates those high-performing teams?
Usually the high-performing team or their really engaged team, they will go out of the way, right? So they will do extra mile to achieve and also to work to complete or to overachieve to complete the whatever task or the project they're in. It's the fact that there's a lot of levers that we need to pull, right? As example, that we will need to also have a very strong employee engagement. So where the fact that they will put in their discretionary effort, right, to do the job. There are some people who complain that I have to work overtime to do this job. But those high-performing, they don't complain about the overtime because they put in that discretionary effort and then they have they find job satisfaction in the work. Or maybe there were enough recognition given by their managers and so forth. So for example, right, to even achieve a high performing team, there's a lot of levers to pull. Of course, you have to pay them and also reward them given the recognition. Also, they have to be also truly engaged. They also put in that discretionary effort. All right. Of course, definitely the leadership is important to provide directions to the team so they are not lost, right? So they know where their outcomes. So I would say that many things we need to pull to actually build a high performing team to get like a right recipe, right, for this success.
How many employees in total at KONE and how many people in Southeast Asia in your region?
We do have about 60,000 employees globally. In Southeast Asia alone, we have 2,000 over employees. So these are direct employees. Of course, we do have other employees who are not directly our employee. They are our contractors. So we do have a sizable portion of external workers working for KONE as well.
How many HR in Southeast Asia, just to see the ratio for 2,000 people?
So my team, we are in a metrics organization. So I would say that directly, I do have about 7 direct reports, and then I have up to about 20 to 30 people in my structure. Dotted line to me, there are even more because we have like our talent acquisition, our COE functions, our center of excellence, like learning and development, talent acquisition, communications, performance and reward. So they are dotted line to myself. That's also easily another like 20 to 30 people.
It's quite big. And how do you know how many people do you need in HR? How do you calculate this you had multiple organizations under your belt, right? Did you see the same ratios across every organization? How is that ratio changing? And what's your recommendations for business leaders in terms of how many HR people you need for an organization? Like, how do you decide these things?
Of course, there are many studies of recommendation in terms of what's the size. So usually they will do like size per head count. Example, like it could be like, okay, maybe every 200 employee, there's 1 HR person or that kind of thing. So I mean, there are some cases like that. That's the consultant way of doing the job, giving you the ratio. But I would say that there's a lot of things to consider besides the head count per employee. I would say it's like, example, like the geographical area, the complexity of the business, and the size of the business. So there's a lot of other factors that will need to be incorporated in deciding the right size of the organization. And if you ask me, the business is evolving and constantly there's always a need to keep reviewing whether are we doing in the most efficient way? Is this the right structure? I would say that it's ongoing. I think when the organizations are moving, whether they are growing or they are downsizing, there's always a need to look at the right structure in place for the business. Again, I don't have a straight answer what is the right ratio, but we'll need to base on many factors to decide.
Yeah, you made me think about the fact if you need a localization team for communications, for instance, that's a cost, right? If you need to communicate in one message, but you have 5, 6 more languages. So yeah, I see that. Your answer is great because I can see some of the levers that make you decide those things. Cool. I see I'm getting to the hour, so I'm going to be respectful. I have a few more questions and then I'll let you go. What's the most exciting HR innovation you've seen recently?
Oh, that's a very tough question. Those exciting innovation that I've seen, either it could be the technology side, right? Some of the new and how does it help the HR practitioners in their day-to-day work? So that's one. Others, I'm also looking at some of the innovation in terms of some of the HRMS system, like the human HR management system. Some of the systems that they have evolved quite a fair bit because my company used the Workday, for example. So I've came a long way where there are most of the time I've been doing very manual. I use Excel and Word. So I feel that a lot have progressed. A lot of work that we want to digitalize, and actually the HRMS is getting more powerful. So yeah, there's a lot of new innovation example that has came in, like Workday, for example. There's a lot example like onboarding. We do onboarding in terms of like everything is online right now, for example. So even like for now, when I joined this organization, we went through the whole onboarding, digitalization for onboarding. So in a way that, like for myself, I just reviewed the employment contract and then I digitally sign it. And then it will immediately go straight to the candidate, reviews it and sign it, upload all the files, everything, and then sign online, and then we're done. And then it's also stored in Workday, right? So we do not need to go and archive it, put in their personal folder. So there's a lot of things that has evolved over time. I would say that I'm amazed with some of this new technology, and I'm happy that my company is investing in this. And I'm able to make life for everyone so much easier, right? And we can spend more time doing more value-adding kind of work rather than administrative work.
Love it. We also do HRMS. So I'm going to blank everything you say Workday and I will put brioHR instead. I'm joking.
Do you have like really comprehensive solution and modules just like
We are all in one as well. And what you described with two. And I'm not here to push the product, so don't worry. That's great that you have this as one of the HR innovation. If you look forward, so like foresight kind of thing, what do you think organizations will look like in 2035? So 10 years from now, where do you see things changing?
I would say that 20 years from now, 30 years from now, I'm not sure where HR will lead to, right? Whether there are some jobs will be taken over by machine. But then essentially, I will still feel that, and the jobs will be shifted. I mean, there will be, instead of more jobs on administrative work, then probably there will be more jobs on IT management, the innovative designers or software engineers. Probably there will be, the job market will skew towards that direction. I believe there's still jobs, just that it will be different kind of role for sure to support the future.
Yeah, I love it. Many answers. There's a threaded theme in our conversation is technology. You've been speaking a lot about technology, whether it's the future, whether it's today's innovation. It's really cool. Any background you have in tech? Because I saw you were not in tech, but you have a strong appetite for technology?
Yes, I do, because
Where does
I
it come
did came from a background where the team had to process the payroll and then had to print out the payslip and distribute the payslip.
So it's the pain. The pain makes you technological.
Yeah, I came from a background where that they had to do, like you said, there's a lot of work to do this, but non-value adding, right? So I'm actually really happy when I join a company and they believe and they invest in digitalization, and I always strongly agree. And in fact, I'm always known globally that I'm always the first one to put up the hands to be the pilot, to be the guinea pig, to pilot any digitalization work, because it's a lot. And then until the fact that even the team told me this early this year, they're telling me that, Ching Li, can we look into slowing down some of the digitalization work? Then I said, okay, sure, we can prioritize. I don't think we can slow down. So team is also trying to manage my expectation, right? Like us make sure the team is okay in terms of the workload before I volunteer the team to go to participate in any of the digitalization project. So that's what's going on right now. Yes.
I love it. You are an early innovator. Cool.
Yes.
And one last one. Apart from KONE, what other organizations are pushing the boundaries of what is possible in HR?
I'm sure that there are many who is pushing boundary, right? A lot of organizations would like to build great, fantastic relationship with the government. So a lot of initiative, and also to make sure that our voice heard. So I just give you another example. Let's say there's a change of some regulation, right? Some labor regulation, for example. So we want to get our voice heard. So a lot of companies, if they feel that the HR in the company, if they feel that they can impact the industry, so they will be participating in our HR leaders. So there's a WhatsApp group where there's 200 over leaders, the CHRO or even the HR director or HR for large through the MNC organizations. So they are part of this group. When we come together, so we can make a lot of noise, and we do put in our effort to get our voice heard as an industry. It's very depending on the organization or the HR head themselves, the CHRO themselves, whether they believe whether they can make a change to what's going on, and also to get their voice heard in terms of some of these external regulatory changes, for example.
Love it. Thank you so much, Ching Li.